The bridge between us. Have you ever wondered how a single moment can change the entire course of your life? Before you continue watching this incredible true story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming content that reminds us of the power of human connection. Michael Carter never expected to return from his third deployment to a silent house. At 35, the former Army medic had seen enough trauma to last several lifetimes, but nothing prepared him for raising his 8-year-old daughter Lily alone after his wife's sudden passing while he was overseas. The small apartment they moved into on the outskirts of Portland wasn't much, but it was all he could afford on his veterans' benefits while he looked for work. The rain seemed constant that first month, matching the heaviness in his heart as he tried to help Lily adjust to life without her mother while battling his own grief and PTSD. Their neighbor, Eleanor Walsh, was a successful publishing executive who kept to herself. Michael had seen her a few times, always impeccably dressed, always in a hurry, always with a polite but distant nod. He assumed she was just another career-focused city person who had no interest in a struggling single dad and his grieving daughter. One evening, as Michael struggled to carry groceries while comforting Lily during one of her anxiety attacks, Eleanor stepped out of her door. Instead of hurrying past as usual, she stopped. "Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is ask for help," she said quietly, taking some of the bags from his arms. Those words, so simple yet profound, broke something open in Michael. For months, he'd been trying to be everything for Lily: mother, father, counselor, friend. He'd been determined to show no weakness, convinced that strength meant handling everything alone. That evening, Eleanor helped them inside and stayed for dinner, a simple meal of pasta that Michael managed to prepare while Lily showed Eleanor her drawings. It was the first time Lily had shown interest in sharing anything since they'd moved. What Michael didn't know was that Eleanor had her own hidden struggles. Behind her polished exterior was a woman who had sacrificed everything for her career, including relationships. At 42, she had achieved remarkable success professionally but returned each night to an empty home filled with beautiful things but no one to share them with. As weeks passed, a tentative friendship formed. Eleanor would bring over extra portions of her Sunday cooking experiments. Michael would fix the little things around her apartment that needed attention. Lily began to smile again, especially when Eleanor would read to her from manuscripts she was considering for publication. When Michael finally found work at the local VA hospital, his irregular hours created a childcare challenge. Eleanor surprised him by offering to watch Lily when needed. "I have a perfectly good apartment and too many evenings alone," she said matter-of-factly, though Michael could see the warmth in her eyes. Their arrangement worked well until the night Michael was called in for an emergency at the hospital. Eleanor had been caring for Lily, who woke screaming from a nightmare about losing her father too. By the time Michael returned at dawn, he found them both asleep on the couch, Eleanor's arm protectively around his daughter. That morning, watching the sunrise paint Eleanor's living room in soft gold, Michael realized something had shifted. The walls he'd built around his heart since losing his wife were beginning to crumble. But their growing closeness was complicated by Michael's survivor's guilt and Eleanor's fear of vulnerability. When Michael began to sense his feelings developing beyond friendship, he pulled away, convinced he was betraying his late wife's memory and that someone like Eleanor couldn't possibly be interested in the complicated package that was his life. Eleanor, misreading his withdrawal as disinterest, retreated into her work. The dinners stopped. The easy conversations disappeared. They returned to polite nods in the hallway, though now laden with unspoken words. Lily was the first to address the elephant in the room. "Why don't we see Ms. Eleanor anymore?" she asked one night as Michael tucked her in. "Did she stop liking us?" Her innocent question pierced Michael's heart. "No, sweetheart. Grown-ups just get complicated sometimes." "That's silly," Lily declared with the straightforward wisdom of children. "If you miss somebody, you should tell them." The turning point came during a severe winter storm that knocked out power to their building. Michael checked on Eleanor, finding her apartment freezing and her struggling to find candles with just her phone's flashlight. Without discussion, they combined resources in Michael's apartment, which had a small gas fireplace. That night, huddled around the fireplace's warmth with Lily sleeping nearby, they finally talked, really talked. Eleanor shared how her own childhood in foster care had left her afraid to depend on anyone. Michael confessed his fear that moving forward meant leaving his wife behind. "I think," Eleanor said carefully, watching the flames, "that the heart doesn't have limited space. It expands. Your love for your wife doesn't have to diminish for you to find room for something new." When the power returned days later, something had permanently changed. Their lives began to intertwine more intentionally. Eleanor started joining them for weekend outings. Michael began leaving small gifts, a book she'd mentioned, her favorite coffee, outside her door. Lily flourished with the additional love and attention. 6 months later, Eleanor was offered her dream promotion, running the company's new division in Chicago. It came with everything she'd worked toward: prestige, creative control, financial security. In the past, she would have accepted immediately. Instead, she found herself standing at Michael's door, conflicted for the first time in her career. "I've been offered a job in Chicago," she told him, watching his face fall even as he tried to smile for her. "That's wonderful," he said, not quite meeting her eyes. "You deserve it." "The thing is," Eleanor continued, her voice uncharacteristically uncertain, "I'm not sure I want to go. For the first time in my life, success doesn't look like what I thought it would." That evening, they sat on the balcony after Lily was asleep, talking about possibilities. Could Eleanor negotiate a remote position? Could Michael find work in Chicago? Was what they were building worth the complications? "Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is ask for what we really want," Michael said, echoing her words from months before. Eleanor took his hand. "And what do you want, Michael?" "A second chance at building a family," he answered honestly. "With you, if that's something you could want too." The solution wasn't immediate or simple. Eleanor negotiated a position that required monthly travel to Chicago but allowed her to remain based in Portland. Michael continued his work at the VA, finding purpose in helping other veterans navigate their return to civilian life. They moved into a slightly larger apartment halfway between their original ones. Lily gained not just a mother figure but a model of female strength and independence. Eleanor discovered that professional success was sweeter when shared with people who celebrated her achievements. Michael learned that honoring his past didn't mean sacrificing his future. Their story wasn't perfect. They argued about parenting approaches. They navigated the complexities of building a relationship while raising a child. They worked through Michael's occasional PTSD episodes and Eleanor's workaholic tendencies. But they did it together, building bridges across their differences rather than walls. 2 years after that first simple sentence in the hallway, Michael proposed on the balcony where they decided to build a life together. Eleanor's answer came through happy tears: "I've been helping you carry your groceries for years now. I might as well make it official." They were married in a small ceremony with Lily as the flower girl. In her speech at the reception, Eleanor thanked Michael and Lily for teaching her that family isn't just something you're born into, it's something you can find when you're brave enough to open your door to someone who needs help carrying their burdens. This story reminds us that healing rarely happens in isolation. Sometimes, the path forward requires us to let someone else in, to help carry our groceries, to sit with us in our grief, to show us that after loss, love can still find its way back. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe for more content that celebrates the extraordinary connections that can form in the most ordinary moments. Remember, sometimes the bravest thing we can do is ask for help, and sometimes the greatest gift we can give is to be the person who answers that call.